looking at doing is going all privately owned, privately built, privately operated. Right now, it would be located at my house, which is pretty much just right up the road from where the current shelter is. I have a pet hotel at my house right now, so we would just kind of add that behind the hotel.
That's just west of Ken's place on
Yes.
the right-hand side?
Yes.
Okay.
South side of the road, right?
Yes.
Wasn't there an animal shelter there?
Many, many years ago, it used to be the county shelter,
Yeah.
and then it got shut down, and you guys went with Ken, and then we bought the property, and I turned the old building into a shelter, or into a pet hotel. I still currently have all the building, or the kennels inside, so I would have extra space available if needed for the shelter. I'm looking at keeping the shelter pretty much the same way it is now, with the walkway around the pens where everybody would be able to see them from the front. There would be 2 quarantine pens in the back for either sick dogs or aggressive. That way nobody would be able to get to them to spread a disease that they had. There would be fenced-in outdoor runs for them to get to. They wouldn't be able to get out by themselves, but I would have to take them out there, but that way I would have control of the dog. So there would be a space for cats. They'd all have to be kept separate, because most likely we're going to be getting sick cats in, and most of them will probably be strays, so most likely will not have an owner. And there will be an indoor room for potential adopters to take dogs in and play around with them a little bit, see how they get along. And then there will be a fenced-in spot outside so they can take them out and see how they do outside without the worry of them having to get away. So there'll be a bathtub, a washing area, so that we used to get some pretty dirty dogs down at the shelter, and sometimes that's all I needed was a bath to make them look better. So right now there's only, I believe, 18 pens, but I want to have a couple reserved for the pups that would be up off the floor to keep them a little cleaner. And then there would be regular sized pens for the dogs, the regular or individual ones, and then some oversized ones like is in Ken's shelter right now. So if we have doubles that I can put together to save room. So that's what I'm looking at right now. So.
As I'm doing, you okay with that, Tom?
Yes, yes.
As
I'm not
looking-
sure what I'm supposed to do, so. I was-
No, it's very informal. This is, I'm the worst person in the world to do math.
Okay.
But as I'm looking at, you have room then for 14 cats?
Well, I was looking at getting in, however many I could fit. I mean, cats are gonna be tough too, because I wasn't sure if you were gonna put a limit on how many we could bring in. You could make space for however many, you probably want in there, but you'd have to put a limit on them, so, otherwise, I think with cats, you're just gonna get overrun. So maybe I could get room for 35 cats or so, and then I plan on having like the 22 pens.
Okay, all right, so that doesn't, all right, so.
The cats, I was looking more into getting like the vet style pens, like we have the crates in the back, the stack on one. That way I could keep them all separate, and because cats carry lots of diseases and it's easy to spread. So.
Okay, so that, all right, so you're looking at having the ability to house up to 35 cats on?
Somewhere around there. I mean, I suppose for the cats, I don't know, I don't know how many would be brought in a day. Dogs are a little more easier to judge because, I've dealt with them, but the cats I would have kind of be.
And then the number of dogs that you have the ability to house?
I'd probably take up to, there would be probably 22 pens in the new shelter. And then I would have space in my kennel that if I had somebody surrender their dog that was up to date on all of its shots, perfectly healthy, I could keep that one in the kennel and then have a free space in the shelter, so that one wouldn't be.
So you're comfortable saying you probably handle 25 dogs?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I have 20 pens in my kennel. So you know, if I had healthy dogs, I could keep them over there, so I could keep 20 there.
So
And
this
then
is in addition to your existing.
it would be
kennels?
added on, that way I could
Okay.
keep everything, I could keep
Right.
all the, but I would have separate runs for the shelter dogs, and I would have separate runs for my kennel dogs. That way I wouldn't be putting healthy dogs and sick dogs
Right, I
together.
understand, and you obviously.
This is all new construction you showed here.
Yeah.
Okay.
The
So
signs
that-
on the bottom down here, amount larger than contract, is that referred to your per year number here?
That was, I was told something about like a 50,000 rate, and then, you know, it would have to be larger than that because,
So that's what my question is, this statement is referring to the number you have there per year.
yeah.
Right. Comparing it to previous contracts.
Right, yes.
Yeah, all right.
Because now, you know, us me taking cats, and then, you know, there are gonna have to be cats that are gonna have to be put down due to sickness, you know, stuff like that, and then I just don't see the call for cats, adoptable cats, being as high as the dogs. I mean, dogs, you can adopt them out real, you know. real
Yeah,
quick.
I have some of the same concern myself. I mean, I recognize it. Personally, I think it's important we address the issue of the feral cats and the loose cats, but you're right, there's a different situation when looking at adopting a cat and looking at adopting dogs. It's just the way it is.
Right. Oh, so we have people calling into the shelter, you know, free cats, they just want to give them away, you know, and then those unwanted cats would be coming to the shelter and they'd be coming in litters at a time, so there's
Right.
going to be lots of cats to deal with, so.
My
that was
case,
gonna be-
my cat adopted, just showed up in my barn and said, I live here now, and
Yeah, they adopt you pretty
Yeah.
much.
keeps the rats in my house, so what the heck, it's a fair deal.
And then on the cats, you know, I wasn't sure because, you know, is the county going to require people to start licensing their cats?
No.
So, you know, it was,
Right, I mean, there's a lot involved there, so we appreciate that. Bill, questions?
I don't see anything on as far as what procedure we use for euthanasia. Will you contract all that out, or are you?
that was, for now, Christine, thinking about using the local veterinarians, possibly having them come out to the facility and, you know, by injection, euthanizing dogs and cats, and then having, I've heard there's a guy that comes around from the state and picks up the unwanted. I would find somebody to contract that way to dispose of the dogs.
So you haven't really checked into?
I haven't checked into disposal yet. Euthanization would definitely be by injection, using the local veterinarians. And then in the back of my mind, maybe, you know, down the line, if it works out, I could even look into doing the injections, you know,
Get it trained.
by myself there on site.
I would suspect that probably the veterinarians, the local, are going to be more apt to do lesser charges to agencies, I mean, to organizations. I don't know that. Kevin, you got any?
I think if you can, the thing with a vet is if you can make it worth his time, that's part of the, you know, the thing with vets, make people understand when a vet makes a farm call,
Right.
that the time it takes the vet to drive to the farm, the time it takes him to drive back from the farm is, you know, time that he could be seeing patients in his clinic, and that's where, or she can see patients in her clinic.
Right.
And that's why those tend to be more expensive, but where you can maybe make it available, or if they show up and they're, I don't think euthanasia is a regular thing, it's not like you have to euthanize every day, so if they come every 2 weeks or 3 weeks to do the euthanasia, that there's enough volume of business that it makes it more economically feasible. You know, if it comes down to, you can't, this is a professional person that went through 6 to 8 years of training. I mean, they gotta get paid.
Right.
But if you can make it more compact, I think they tend to be more reasonable, and you
Okay,
can work with
you
them.
know, save them up and then one day, you know, have him come out and take care of all of them.
Exactly.
Store them in a freezer and then have someone come in and dispose of them by all the right means.
Exactly. Yeah. Those are those are the things that are gonna be addressed.
Have you organizations seen this Department of Licensing and Regulatory Affairs for how the licensing procedures for shelters and all of the requirements for that, you know, pet, dog pound, and animal shelter, records, facilities and operations, dog pound and animal shelter regulations. Are you aware of all this stuff that's involved in this?
Some of them, yeah, I've learned, Ken has brought me up to on some of them, but I would have to get more in. I'd
It's
have to
on the
update myself
Michigan
on all of
Gov
them.
website,
Right.
so it's not secret information. I just,
Well, because the pound restrictions are different than they are for a, you know, shelter's not the right word, for a boarding facility,
Oh.
you know, those kind of things everything is a little different.
yeah, well, and this is preliminary. I don't expect you to have all this stuff at this point, because I didn't, you know, I've seen bits and pieces, but something that all of us, as we progress, all of us are gonna have to become very, very familiar with. You know, this will be my Super Bowl reading for Sunday, so.
Yeah.
But, anyway, you're,
Okay.
appreciate it.
Art, you have a question? And I'm assuming with in your situation, one of the concerns always with a private operator is, you know, you're accountable for what happens. So if someone comes on your property and does something wrong, they don't get blamed, you get blamed.
Right.
Do you see some opportunities for the organizations that are around, like M-Cares, you know, Kate's organization, things like that, to work with your shelter, or would you be very reluctant to have volunteers in?
I would take some volunteers. I mean, you have to be careful on how many, just because of, you know, sickness is spread very easy through those dogs. But yeah, I take on a couple to help walk the dogs and bathe, you know, whatever I needed help with. And I'd be more than willing to work with MC Cares, you know, or any of the other organizations that wanted to help. The building will be all fenced off, kept separate from, you know, my house, and there will be a separate drive for them to use. So pretty much it's just going to be located in the back of my house. So it's still going to have its own private area, and own private parking lot. So, you know, they could come in whenever they wanted, and it would still be, I would be there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, so available for it all the time.